Part 41. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 417. How could this be? How could this be? It must have been a mistake, it must have been a mistake. After hearing her daughter's story, Che Yelai slumped down on the chair, muttering constantly. Mom. Zhang Maiziang sat next to her, and lowered her voice. Keep your voice down, if you let Dad know who that woman is, you might be in a hurry. Yes, yes, yes. Che Yelai nodded her head again and again. You reminded me right, we can't let your father know. What should we do if he goes to find that old vixen? Mom. Zhang Maiziang looked helpless. That woman has a husband, it is impossible for my dad to be with her anymore. Can you put your attention on the normal place? What if that woman is holding a grudge and asks Jiao's family to take revenge on us? Can Dad have it easy today? If this matter affects Dad's future, he will definitely blame Mom. Then what should I do? Che Yelai was at a loss. I can't go to that woman to apologize, right? She was the one who hit me, so why should I apologize to her? Auntie please, Mom, have you forgotten Auntie? Please, Auntie, Che Yelai looked hesitant. No matter how close your auntie kisses me, it's no better than kissing her daughter. Now that woman is a relative of her daughter-in-law's family, how could she still be close to me? Mom, don't you still want to make that woman look ugly right now? Ah, Che Yelai stared blankly at her daughter. Then why do you still need your aunt? Mom, you said that you are usually quite smart. Why did you become so confused when something happened? Zhang Maiziang looked around. Seeing no one around, he continued. The most important thing for us right now is to protect my dad first. Mom and Aunt said. If we had known that the woman was a relative of my sister-in-law's family, we would say nothing to provoke her. Anyway, the woman beat and scolded, and we don't owe her anything. Let the aunt help spread the word. If we meet again in the future, the well water will not violate the river water, and no one will know anyone. Is this possible? Che Yelai frowned as she spoke. Just let that woman go like this. I'm not reconciled. Who is reconciled? Zhang Maiziang rolled her eyes. Of course I am not reconciled, but if Dad is involved because of unreconciled, there will be many things that we will not be reconciled to in the future. After thinking about it for a while, she felt that what her daughter said was quite reasonable, so Che Yelai nodded. Okay, you can follow your father's lead. I'll go to your aunt to discuss it. Alas. What's the matter? Mom, remember to buy something for Auntie. Don't just go there empty-handed. Che Yelai looked at her daughter suspiciously. Miss Yang, why do I feel like you have changed? Okay. To tell you the truth, these were not my ideas. Yang Ping taught me to do this. He said that if I went to my aunt to Su Chiao Ying, it would only make my aunt think that she helped the wrong person. This matter. Only when mother goes to find aunt in person, can aunt help. As for whether we can make that woman ugly in the future, let's wait and see. Who knows what's going on? There are a lot of things going on in Hexi in 10 years in Hedong and 10 years in Hexi. Mom, do you think it makes sense? Che Yelai asked with a puzzled look. Why did you bring Yang Ping to Chiaoying? Didn't my dad transfer Yang Ping's younger sister Yang Shan to the county hospital? I thought about it, and I happened to walk to the door of the eldest sister. I went in to say hello to her and asked her to help take care of Yang Shan. Mom also knows that Yang Ping loves his sister the most. If I treat his sister well, he will definitely treat me better. Who knew that before I had time to say what I wanted to say, I was frightened by that woman's family. I'm usually like a boring gourd, but I'm quite considerate at critical times. Che Yelai frowned. Maiziang, don't blame Mom for not reminding you. This Yang Ping is probably not something you can handle, let me tell you, or Zhang Qian is more suitable. This child has listened to you since he was a child. If you marry him, you will be served all your life. Mom, if I want to be waited on, can I just find a nanny? Anyway, Dad will be able to be a nanny when he upgrades to another level. Why am I so anxious? After a short pause, Zhang Maiziang asked Che Yelai, Mother, obviously you can marry Uncle Zhang, but why do you have to choose a father who is not as good as Uncle Zhang? Che Yelai waved her hand impatiently, okay, do whatever you want, Mom just kindly reminded you, can the son of a stinky old man compare with your dad? Your dad is the son of a great worker. Okay, in Mom's eyes, Dad is simply unbeatable. My grandpa and my grandma always said that in Mom's eyes, my dad's shit smells good. Go, Che Yelai pushed her with a smile, did anyone say that about her parents? It's alright, take good care of your father, I'm going to find your aunt, alas. When Che Yelai's figure disappeared, Yang Ping came out from the corner, staring at Che Yelai with a gloomy expression, did people in your family always look down on me? Look down on my dad, I think, we still count gone. Zhang Maiziang shook her body coquettishly, Yang Ping, my mother is like that. In the future, she will see that you are good. It's not like you don't know what I think about you, right? The idea I gave you is to hope that your father and your family will be successful, but when it comes to your mother's mouth, it becomes me who has a lot of people and wants you to guard against me. Forget it. Yang Ping shook his head, a marriage without the blessing of your parents will not be happy, and a marriage that is always misunderstood will not be happy. Let's stop here. I hope you will find a husband that you and your family are satisfied with as soon as possible. I will also find the right one for my wife, goodbye. Yang Ping. Zhang Maiziang was in a hurry, she could tell that Yang Ping was not talking about it, and she didn't care that it was in a public place, so she grabbed Yang Ping's sleeve, we are all going to get married now, how can you just say break up and break up? I'm responsible for you. If I know it's inappropriate and marry you, it's not loving you, but hurting you, Xiao Xiang. I'm very happy during the time I'm with you. Don't talk about it, someone is watching, Yang Ping said as he opened her fingers, stop making trouble. No, I don't care, Zhang Maiziang hugged him even harder, I won't let you go, I like you, I just like you, Yang Ping, I will marry you. For you, I persuaded my mother not to care about that woman. For you, I obviously hated that woman and her daughter, but I chose to forgive them generously. I can do anything for you. How can you do it because of my mother? In a word, give up on me? Or are you simply making up your mind to break up with me? I was so naive, I thought you were afraid that I would say something wrong, and wanted to help me smooth things over at a critical moment, but I didn't expect that this was your idea, are you worthy of me? Squeak. The door of the ward was opened, and Zhang Yuzhong stood at the door with a tiger's face, glaring at her daughter and Yang Ping, come in, you will lose all my face. Dad. After closing the door of the ward, Zhang Maiziang had already completely forgotten what she had said to her mother earlier, and told her what she knew in detail like beans pouring out of a bamboo tube. During the process, she kept tightly tugging on Yang Ping's sleeve, afraid that the other party would run away. Tell me, why did you come up with such an idea? Zhang Yueping sat back on the bed and stared straight at Yang Ping, my wife and my daughter believe what you say, but it doesn't mean I believe it too. If you can't tell why, I will definitely make your family regret it, if you don't believe me, you can fight with me. Dad, Zhang Maiziang roared anxiously, you want to drive him away just like Mom? Dad, I will hate you all forever. Stay aside, Zhang Yuzhong frowned and stared at her daughter, if you dare to say one more thing, no matter whether he wants to break up with you or not, I will not agree to you marrying him. Zhang Maiziang's lips moved, but in the end she didn't dare to speak any more. After thinking about it, she simply retreated to the door and locked the latch. Yang Ping looked at Zhang Yuzhong calmly, Secretary Zhang, I just think that a marriage without the blessing of my parents will not be happy, so I decided to separate. There is no other reason. Real. Real. Zhang Yuzhong stared straight at him. Then let me tell you now, I agree to my daughter marrying you, and I will be responsible for persuading my wife. Can you marry my daughter right away? Yes, Yang Ping nodded. As long as you and auntie agree, I can get married right away. Zhang Maiziang was overjoyed immediately, and just about to jump to Yang Ping's side. Zhang Yuzhong gave her a cold look, and settled there again, but pouted in dissatisfaction. Zhang Yueshan's eyes turned back to Yang Ping. It's your blessing to marry my daughter, do you need to put it so far-fetched? Yang Ping hung his head and said nothing. Zhang Yueshan's eyes suddenly turned cold. You suddenly lost enthusiasm for this marriage because Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan's backer is Qiao's family. You are afraid, right? Yes, Yang Ping raised his head and looked at him calmly. I'm just an ordinary person. My parents have been frightened too much. I don't want them to follow me in fear, and I don't want to live in that kind of fear again. Then why did you agree to be with my daughter earlier? The past was the past, and now is the present. Yang Ping sighed. Okay, I admit, I was vain before, and being able to marry the secretary's daughter is indeed very enviable. Then you don't marry now, aren't you afraid that others will laugh at you? The result of being afraid of wolves before and being afraid of tigers is that you die faster. After carefully looking at Yang Ping for a long time, Zhang Yuzhong sneered. Okay, remember what you said today. I hope that you will not regret today's decision in your life. Thank you, Secretary, for your generosity. Yang Ping bowed slightly, turned around, and bowed again to Zhang Maiziang, who was standing in the doorway watching him with tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. Are you here to take revenge on me? Zhang Maiziang's lips trembled. What's your relationship with that woman's family? Why do you want to help them take revenge? First marriage, then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 418. One more. You misunderstood, I don't know them, Xiaoxiang, you know what my parents have suffered, I can't let them face such a thing again, I'm sorry. He bowed deeply, pushed the other party away while getting up, opened the door and rushed out. Yang Ping, Zhang Maiziang called out anxiously, trying to chase after her. Xiaoxiang, if you leave this door, you will no longer be my daughter. Zhang Yueshan's dark voice sounded. Zhang Maiziang stopped and looked at Zhang Yuzhong pitifully. I finally got him to accept me. I can't lose him. Dad, you have to support me. Do you think that if you chase him out like this, you can make him stay with you sincerely? Zhang Yuzhong sighed heavily, and pointed to the stool beside the bed. Come and sit, Dad has something to say to you. Dad? Zhang Maiziang's eyes were full of hesitation. Since she was a child, she listened to her father very much and admired him very much. Otherwise, she would not have stopped just now, but if she was asked to give up Yang Ping, she would not willing, but not willing. Yang Ping is the neighbor of her good friend Li Mian's aunt's house, and she is good friends with Li Mian's eldest cousin. After Li Mian's eldest cousin took Yang Ping to Li Mian's house and was met by her, his shadow was deeply felt. Imprinted in her heart. She let go of her girlish reserve and begged Li Mian to help her get married, but in the end, he refused, saying that he likes a simple life and wants to find a girl of the right family to live a down-to-earth life. She didn't give up because of his refusal, but went to wait for him at the gate of the school he taught every day after school. Follow him from afar and send him home, like this every day. Finally, when he saw her, he no longer pretended not to know her with a sullen face. Ken walks with her, Ken talks to her. On a rainy day, he walked out of the school gate wearing an oilcloth and saw her standing at the gate waiting for him in a raincoat with drenched hair. They finally established a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. Others are men coaxing women, they are just the opposite. She has always coaxed him, and she obeys him in everything. None of her friends supported her, including her matchmaker friend Li Mian. Fortunately, her parents support her. The parents were also in the wrong family. After learning about Yang Ping's conditions, the mother not only did not object, but also encouraged her to be with the other party. The father didn't say anything, but if he didn't say anything, it meant tacit consent. She thought that getting married with him was a certainty. But why did it suddenly become like this? It's so hard to be together, it's so hard to be together. How can we say that we are separated? In fact, she knew it even if her father didn't tell her. With Yang Ping's stubborn temper, if she really made a decision, she would chase him out. It's probably useless, even. It will make the relationship between the two of them more rigid, maybe. Xiaoxiang. If you believe in Dad, come and sit down and let Dad think of a way with you. Zhang Yuzheng waved at his daughter. Dad only has a daughter like you, so it must be for your own good. Biting her lip, Zhang Meixiang obediently sat back beside the bed, twisting the corners of her clothes with her hands, and tears fell on the back of her hands. Dad, I can't live without him. Why? Zhang Yuzheng asked. It was hard for me to be with him. I just like him. I like him no matter how he looks or how he talks. As long as I see him, I will be filled with joy. Dad, I want to be with him. You child. Zhang Yuzheng sighed helplessly. You know you are with him, why don't your mother and I object? Zhang Meixiang nodded, because the situation of my father and mother is a bit similar to me and him. Parents can live happily, and so can we. You're wrong. Zhang Yuzheng turned his gaze out of the window, his eyes became distant. Do you really think that my marriage with your mother is very happy? If it is really happy, your mother will not cause so many troubles, son. Back then, I did marry your mother for the sake of power. I pretended not to feel guilty about Zhao Yulan at all, but how could that be possible? After all, she was the one who helped me when I was in the most difficult time, and she didn't dislike me and was willing to be with me, but I betrayed her. So, this has become a thorn in my heart, a thorn that cannot be touched. Do you think that Dad's heart disease is really due to fatigue? In fact, those emotions that cannot be vented are all pent up in the heart, and as time goes by, problems will arise in the body. Your mother is actually having a bad time. On the one hand, she is happy because she snatched me away. On the other hand, she thinks that if I betray Zhao Yulan, I can betray her, so she is always in fear. But her life background told her that even if she doesn't trust me, she can't go to the work unit to make trouble. It may make all my struggles come to naught, so she locked her target on Zhao Yulan. She didn't really think that Zhao Yulan would pose a threat to her, but that she needed such a channel to vent. Of course, Zhao Yulan, who had no background, was the most suitable one. Salvage consequences. I don't stop her because I hope she can vent out those negative emotions that can't be treated by outsiders, otherwise, with your mother's temper, we all can't live well. In fact, speaking of it this way, I was really selfish. For the sake of my own family harmony, I went all the way to hurt a woman who was once hurt by me. Therefore, I always feel guilty afterwards. In the first few years, every time your mother targeted her, I would try to make up for it, but that kind of compensation was not for Zhao Yulan herself, but for some benefits that originally belonged to other villages. Assigned to Dalan village, so that my heart can feel better. Your grandfather should understand the intention of my actions, so every time, he will support me. Without his support, even if I want to make up, I don't have the ability. You are with Yang Ping. I originally disagreed. I really don't want you to follow in your mother's footsteps, but according to your temper, if I simply object, you will definitely not be reconciled. I am thinking when I tried to persuade you, I unexpectedly made a big discovery. The city below requires all counties to check the old cases, put the completed cases into the warehouse, and investigate the problematic ones. As the leader in charge, of course I have to go over to express my support. As a result, when I randomly searched for a few cases to be put into the warehouse, I found Father Yang. Mother Yang's. The root cause of their shock back then was that Yang Ping's mother was a relative of the Zhou family, which can also explain why the development of the Yang family has been smooth in recent years. On the other hand, Yang Ping's parents are absolutely tolerant and scheming. According to their current development, one day, the Yang family will stand side by side with us or even surpass us. It is true that you can marry into their family. It's a good match. Zhang Maiziang interrupted Zhang Yuzheng in surprise. Father, is what you said true? Of course Zhang Yuzheng nodded. Dad told you so much, didn't you think of something? Think about it, we are in the right family, and Yang Ping and I can be together. Hey, Zhang Yuzheng sighed heavily, then tell me, does Yang Ping know the background of their family? This. Zhang Maiziang's face suddenly collapsed. Yes, Yang Ping would only know better than her father, but knowing that the two parties were in the same family, and still use this excuse to break up with her, that can only explain, the other party really doesn't want to be with her. Just when Yang Ping was talking about that, I suddenly thought of something. Your uncle Zhang went to Dalian village to buy a house a month ago, and sent his parents to live there. And when your mother asked your Aunt Zhang why she bought a house so far away, your Aunt Zhang hesitated and mumbled. At that time, I only thought she was embarrassed because she sent the old man too far away. Now, the more I think about it, the more I feel that this is wrong. What do you mean? Zhang Maiziang asked stammeringly. I suspect that all of this is Zhao Yulan's revenge on us. When she came last time, your mother beat her up. I stood aside and didn't stop her. She must be harboring a grudge. What does Dad mean to say that Zhao Yulan's daughter married into someone with a background? Yes, I suspect that her daughter is marrying Zhou Mikang from the Zhou family. Zhang Yuzheng sighed heavily. Xiaoxiang, go to the hospital for my father to go through the discharge procedures. I have to check this matter myself. If it is really Zhao Yulan's daughter is married to the Zhou family, oh. Dad, you're not in good health yet. Zhang Maiziang looked at Zhang Yuzheng seriously. Dad, if you believe me, let me check it out. I'll go to Aunt Zhang and ask whose family they bought. House, okay. It's fine. Zhang Yuzheng smiled wryly. If they were also involved in this matter, now, there is no need to hide it from us. Grandpa Lin, the whole family, Lin Baohe and others stayed at my aunt's house for one night, and set off for Dalian village early the next morning. I'm old, but I'm in good health. Back then, Shenjun and Qing came to join me. I'm responsible for whatever you say about this matter. If you don't let me go to their graves, I won't be able to shut them down for the rest of my life. When the old lady said this, Grandpa Lin discussed with everyone and had no choice but to agree. However, Qiao Ying also asked for leave to accompany him, and he would always feel more at ease when he was accompanied by a doctor. The little aunt offered to ride in a car with Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. Chu Xia and Jing Zhe were also in the same car. Of course, the driver was Jing Zhe. Holding Chu Xia's hand, looking up and down over and over again, the smile on the old lady's face became deeper and deeper. By the way, Chu Xia, have you seen Aunt Ling from your grandfather's house? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 419. Second watch. Hearing the great aunt's question about the little aunt of the great-grandfather's family, Chu Xia smiled and shook her head. Grandpa said that my little aunt's research is at a critical moment, and I haven't been home for half a month, so I haven't been able to see her. Then have you seen her picture? Tai Gu continued to ask. Although Chu Xia wondered why the other party was pursuing this question, but after all, he was not very familiar with it, so he answered truthfully, I haven't seen it either. If you don't, then don't look at the photos, Just look at yourself, Grandma Taigo said, and looked at Zhao Yulan. Yulan, you will definitely be surprised when you see Zhiling. Chu Xia and Zhiling look so much alike. Didn't you say that I look like my grandma? Chu Xia had black hair. When did she become such a popular face? She looked like this for a while, and looked like that for a while. Your Aunt Ling looks very similar to your grandma, but... The old lady looked at Chu Xia again. Neither of them is as good looking as you. Your little aunt's mouth is too small, your Aunt Ling, your mouth is too big, but yours is the prettiest. Waterfall Khan, Chu Xia unconsciously covered her mouth, saying this in front of her face. I am very embarrassed, okay. Zhao Yulan was very pleased with this, so she took the old lady's hand, half complaining half proudly, and said, you don't know, because Chu Xia looks nothing like me and Bao He. Many people in the village gossip. Yes, fortunately, Bao He knows what kind of character I am, and doesn't listen to those nonsense words. I really didn't expect it to be like this. He. Zhiliang, my aunt is sorry for you. If my aunt didn't take good care of your parents, you wouldn't have to suffer so much. My aunt wiped her tears again as she spoke. Lin Bao He hurriedly said, Grandma, Aunt. Look at what you said. What does this have to do with you? Didn't we agree that everyone will be fine in the future, and the past will be over? Moreover, I feel that I am quite blessed, having married such a good wife as Yulan, having such a filial daughter in Chuxia, and now Chuxia has found such a good son-in-law for me. This man. There are too many blessings and I can't afford it. As for me, I suffered a little when I was young, but after that, I will enjoy all the blessings. Think about it, isn't it the same for us big guys? That's right, it's all about suffering first and then enjoying happiness. This person. If you enjoy happiness first, you may have to suffer later. In sum, it's better to endure hardship first. The old lady babbled a lot. The mood immediately improved again. Grandma, since I look very similar to Aunt Ling of Grandpa's family, why hasn't anyone mentioned this? Chu Xia asked, a little puzzled. Before, everyone only said that I look like Grandma. The old lady sighed. Didn't you marry into the Zhou family? Your aunt is married to Huang Ping'an, the youngest son of the Huang family. The Huang family and the Zhou family have never dealt with each other since our lifetime. Your grandpa, I didn't mention your little aunt much. I guess I haven't figured out how to tell you about this, and I don't want to embarrass you. Grandma, how is the relationship between Uncle's family and Wang's family? Lin Bao He frowned slightly, never expecting to face such a thing just after finding his relatives. The relationship between your uncle's family and the Huang family is average, and the relationship with Ping'an is not bad. He is different from the rest of the Huang family. Otherwise, your uncle would not be able to agree to the marriage between Zhiling and Ping'an. The two children are classmates, and they both concentrate on learning. After a long time together, they have developed feelings. Originally, the Huang family and the Lin family were not incompatible with each other. It is also happy to see the two juniors come together, so let's go along. Dang Dang got married. In the beginning, the Huang family hoped that this matter would allow the Lin family and the Huang family to stand on the same front, but your uncle refused. Later, the relationship between the two families became less and less. However, no matter the distance between the two families, in the eyes of outsiders, the two parents' families are like grasshoppers on the same rope, which is why your uncle didn't want to mention it. Don't blame him, he is also bitter. In fact, our Lin family was originally richer than the Jiao family, the Zhou family, and the Huang family, but after that scene, we are barely equal to them. In addition, our Lin family is weak. According to the current development, we may not be qualified to be equal to those families. Don't worry. Chu Xia figured it out. No wonder the auntie had to ride with them in the same car, and even drove the grandfather out of the car. It turned out that she wanted to tell them some things that the grandpa was inconvenient to say. It was also for fear that they would misunderstand Grandpa because of Lin's Hilling's matter, and let this family relationship that had just been picked up be thrown into the ground again. It's such a complicated relationship. Chu Xia looked at Jingzhe. Brother, do you know this? I only know that the relationship between Zhou's family and Wang's family is not very good, and I don't know anything else. Jingzhe quickly put himself aside. Jokes, knowing and not reporting are not the same thing. He really cares about this sister, especially now that there is another Lin Wenbin robbing his sister. The grand aunt laughed. Xiaojing, do you like our little Chuxia? Grandma, you are really right. However, I am slow to react, and in the end, Zhou Mikang took advantage of me. As for me, I can only be Chu Xia's brother. In fact, it is good to be a brother. I will protect my sister for the rest of my life. If my brother-in-law dares to bully my sister, I can still beat him with my fist, which is quite fulfilling when I think about it. What do you think, Grandma? I think, the old lady curled her lips, I think you're deceiving yourself. You're still pretending to be magnanimous because you're so annoyed that you didn't become the son-in-law of our Lin family. Both Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan couldn't answer the conversation, so they turned their gazes out of the window in embarrassment. Everyone has talked about this matter before, but Chu Xia was quite calm, so she nodded along with the old lady's wishes. That's right, brother, that's how he is. He likes to pretend to be a gentleman, but in the end, he pretends to be a wolf with a big tail gone. That's right, the old lady slapped her hands and laughed. Xiao Chuxia, your summary is too good. That's what happened. Xiaojing, isn't it easy to pretend to be a wolf with a big tail? Jingzhe smiled wryly. Can he be kinder? Can you stop which pot is not opened and which pot to lift? Son. The old lady looked straight and stared at Jingzhe seriously. You can let go quickly when you know it's impossible, and switch to another role. I like your straightforwardness. I can see you, old lady, come out. You really treat Chu Xia as a younger sister now. This is Chu Xia's blessing, and it's also her loss. I've never seen a boy from the Zhou family. Anyway, old lady, I'm sure, a child with your temper must be a good husband. The old lady smacked her lips and frowned at Chu Xia as she spoke. Little Chu Xia, why didn't you know how to take the initiative? Such a good man, it's such a pity to miss it. Grandma, you're quite open-minded, hee hee. I really didn't know how to answer, so Chu Xia could only smile slyly and act obediently. Jingzhe glanced at her from the rear-view mirror, and said with a smile, this shows that my auntie likes me so much. If my auntie has an unmarried granddaughter, she will definitely marry me. The old lady smiled and waved her hands. Don't tell me, I do have a granddaughter who is about the same age as you, but even if I do, I can't introduce her to you, lest I not become an in-law but also an enemy. Hee hee. This time, Jingzhe could only answer with a silly smile. The old lady really knows how to chat, and everyone who talks is afraid to speak. Looking around, the old lady laughed. Okay, I won't tease you, but what I said is true. If I introduce my granddaughter to Xiaojing, she will know that Xiaojing's favorite is early summer. This must be uncomfortable in my heart. Girls, most of them are small-minded in this regard. If they can avoid it, they must not bump into it. Not wanting the old lady to continue lingering on this topic, Chu Xia said, Grandma, brother already has a fiancée. If you introduce it again, it will destroy brother's marriage. Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan looked at each other with worry in their eyes. They are honest, but not stupid. Why does the old lady say this over and over again? Of course it's not that they don't talk much, they are reminding them in disguise, they are not brothers and sisters, they are always so close together. It is inevitable that people will make irresponsible remarks, but if they say that Jingzhe is not allowed to help his daughter, it is too much, it hurts. In all honesty, the Jing family is kind to the Lin family and the Zhou family. They can't be ungrateful people, but people's words are terrible. What should they do? My brother and I can calmly talk about the past. which means that we are only one step away from being true brothers and sisters. If we deliberately distance ourselves because we are worried that others will misunderstand, we will only suffer losses ourselves. Chu Xia's sudden words made both Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe look embarrassed. Yes, since the children are getting along well, why do they have to find something to alienate the children? Even if you are misunderstood, what can you do? As long as Zhou Mikang doesn't misunderstand and the Zhou family doesn't misunderstand, that's enough. The little aunt's face was also a little embarrassing. She really liked Chu Xia, so she was worried that Chu Xia would be rejected by her husband's family because of these things, so she said a few more words. Now it seems that the Lord does not accept her favor. Grandma, I know you really love me. Don't worry, Zhou Mikang told me to let his brother take care of me before leaving the mission. My in-laws and family also know that my future sister-in-law is my husband's cousin, so I don't care about this. Clear, no misunderstanding. That's good, that's good. Chu Xia's willingness to explain to herself meant that she didn't blame herself. The old lady immediately breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, what Chu Xia said made her even more deeply relieved. People, immediately relaxed. This is true love. This sentence suddenly popped up in Chu Xia's mind, like her former grandparents, uncles, and aunts. How could they really think about her like this? Therefore, sometimes the words of relatives may not be pleasing to the ear, but they really contain true feelings. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 420. After the three cars stopped in front of Lin Baohe's house, the whole village was in a commotion. It was rare to see one car, but now three cars came, which challenged everyone's nerves. For a while, the adults and children who were idle at home were all dispatched, gathered around several cars, pointing and pointing. The level of excitement was similar to that of showing movies in usual times. Ever since Lin Baohe entered the hospital, Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin did not let Chu Chu see the sky to wait and see what happened, but even so, the news quickly reached the ears of the old couple. It was the second grandfather Lin and his wife who came here report the letter. You guys are still sitting here in a stable place. After passing this village, there will be no such shop. Second Grandma Lin squeezed her head towards Old Man Lin. Granny Lin, anyway, you raised him. If he doesn't want face, he won't support you guys. Listen to me, go make a fuss right now. That large group of people must be from Chu Xia's family. As far as they treat their daughter's treasure, they will have to agree to any request. Second Grandpa Lin quickly answered, that's right, big brother and sister-in-law, this is a good thing that never happens in a lifetime. For the sake of your grandson, you have to put up with this old face. The old couple, who had planned to die because of Lin Baohe's admission to the hospital, became active again. Just at this moment, Lin Chuki ran back in a hurry, and shook Mr. Lin's arm as soon as he entered the room. Grandpa, whether I can live well in this life depends on you. The second uncle and his family have already returned. Come on, I bought 3 cars to send him off. Grandpa, go and beg him, for the sake of Chu Xia's face. They will definitely agree to you. Didn't you go to find Chunny? Why did you come back so soon? Mrs. Lin asked suspiciously. What about Chunny? Lin Chuki pouted. She pushed me out and said she would give me a month. If she couldn't meet the worker quota, she would get engaged to someone else. How can this girl do this? Granny Lin's voice suddenly increased. You are so devoted to working for her. How can you be so ruthless? Chukiu, I think even if you become a worker, don't want her anymore. Such a woman may climb a high branch at any time. Grandma, I just want to marry Chunny. As long as she gets married and follows me, she will definitely not be able to run away. Grandma, you and Grandpa love me the most. I will take you to the city to enjoy happiness. Lin Chuki pulled the old lady's arms were dangling back and forth, and her eyes were staring at Old Man Lin pitifully. or really complied with the sentence that one thing is one thing. The old couple are very unfeeling to their sons and daughters, but to this little grandson, they are as precious as eyeballs. In addition, Grandpa Lin and Grandma Lin added fuel and vinegar to the side. The old couple finally made up their minds. This is the last time. If it doesn't work, I probably won't be able to take advantage of him in this life. When putting on his shoes, old man Lin couldn't help but sigh. If I had known that he had this day, alas. In Chu Xia's new house, it was an extremely lively scene at this time. Lin Baohe's family. Jingjia, Grandpa Lin's family. My aunt and grandma's family, Luo Gangshun and Aunt Fat. Grandpa Dagong and Grandma Dagong, brothers Chen Jianfeng and Chen Jiangxin, and villagers who are close to Lin Baohe gathered in a room full. After learning of Lin Baohe's real-life experience, everyone kept sighing, saying that good people are rewarded, and that after suffering so much, it is time to enjoy the blessings. Knowing that Grandpa Lin's family was going to relocate the graves of Lin Baohe's parents, Grandpa Dagong immediately ordered brother Chen Jianfeng to help with the matter. All the miscellaneous matters should be handled by the two brothers, and Lin Baohe and others just waited for the grave moving ceremony to be held early the next morning. Others can come to the Lin family to express condolences to Lin Baohe, or flatter Lin Baohe, but the Lin Baojiang family knows very well that even if they have the cheek to go over, I am afraid they will not get anything good. Lin Baojiang and Zheng Sanqiao sat on the kong with gloomy faces, as if mourning their wives. It's all your fault, Zheng Sanqiao slapped Lin Baojiang's leg. You go to provoke Luo Gangshun even though you know that your niece and Luo Xiaoxian are good enough to wear a pair of pants. We can't. 3 cars, what kind of conditions do we need to send 3 cars to deliver? I heard that among the people who came, there were all ages, most likely it was your niece's in-laws who came. If you said this is a great opportunity, you will be tricked. You still have the face to criticize me, Lin Baojiang stared at her. If you were willing to bear it, would you have come to this point? I can bear it, Zheng Sanqiao said with a funny face. Are you a man? I was almost beaten to death by someone brought by your niece. You still think I can't bear it? Father, didn't you say that if you don't fight, you should farm the land well? Lin Chudong finally couldn't help but said, no matter how the second uncle's family is doing, we can live our lives as we want. Chudong. 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 The couple and Lu Miking, who was holding Xuan Er, stared at Lin Chudong as if they had discovered a new world. How could they forget that Lin Chudong was definitely not among the people who had fallen out with Lin Baohe's family all this time? Lin Chudong quickly waved his hands. Father, mother, don't think about me, I won't talk to my second uncle. It's not like you don't know my second uncle and aunt's temper. Besides, even if you don't know my second uncle and aunt's temper, you shouldn't treat Chu Xia like that. She is your niece. At that time, you didn't even know that she was not your real niece, so you treated her like that. Now, people can't believe you even more. Those who kiss are calculated, and those who don't kiss don't know what to do. Anyway, I don't have the face to go to my second uncle's house to ask for something. Chudong, Dad wanted to be an ordinary farmer farming, but he turned out to be the captain, but now he is nothing. He could control others, but now let others control Dad. Son, I really can't make it through. Dad regrets it. No matter how the relationship with your second uncle is, as long as you don't fall out and don't look at the monk's face and the Buddha's face, no one will dare to deal with me. Even if your second uncle and Luo Gangshun are on good terms, in the eyes of outsiders, your second uncle and I are still kissing each other. Alas, Dad is so confused. Why did he make such a mistake in one step? Alas. Chudong, help your father, he can't sleep all the time. If this goes on, let alone anything else, he will be exhausted. You and your second uncle's family have been getting along well. We don't ask for anything else, just ask your father to be his captain. Chudong, you are also a father, and you should make plans for Xuan Er, yes or no. At the critical moment, Zheng Senqiao still turned to her husband. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 421. One more. For Xuan Er, I have to live a more down-to-earth life. It's not easy for my second uncle. I can't make things difficult for him, so don't think about me. Zheng Senqiao's words not only did not impress Lin Chudong, but became more determined. Lin Chudong's determination was broken. Why did I marry you, such a brainless fool? Lu Miking was so angry that she pushed Lin Chudong, threw Xuan Er onto the Kong, turned around and walked out. Mom, wow. Lu Miking, why are you insane? Lin Chudong quickly picked up his son. Xuan Er, don't cry, mother won't hug you, dad will hug you, go, dad will bring you candy. As soon as he heard that there was candy to eat, the little guy stopped crying immediately, broke his tears into a smile, who understands tied his little arms, and muttered, Tang, Tang, sister-in-law, Tang. Zheng Senqiao hit the nail on the head, and answered quickly, Chudong, Xuan Er misses his sister-in-law, why don't you take Xuan Er to see her sister-in-law? Mother, Xuan Er misses his little sister because she is the only one who gives him candy. When he hears about candy, of course he thinks of his little sister. His little sister has lived here for so many years, and mother has never given him a bite of delicious food. Of Zheng Senqiao looked disapproving. If we have that condition, can I not give her food? Who gave birth to your child? Isn't the fight between mother and father all because of you, because of Xuan, son? Mom, can we keep our eyes open and talk nonsense? Lin Chudong was speechless. You know better than anyone how second uncle lived before. When Chu Xia was so hungry and crying, you were willing to let her live. Do you want a piece of pancake? You don't give. On the contrary, we have to find ways to find the delicious food from the second uncle's house to our side, when there is no Xuan Er. You have a backache today and a backache tomorrow with all kinds of excuses to grab it, and you have Xuan Er. Your reason is more open and above board. Now that you think about it carefully, do you think that the second uncle's family is really honest, or is it because they don't want to haggle with you for the sake of their relatives? No matter what, she is your mother. Lin Beijiang glared at his son. We are not old yet, you have started to be the master of the house and teach others. When we are old, can you pack up and throw us on the street? Superior. Father and mother don't want to listen to me, so I won't talk about it. I'm just helping you remember what I did. What did others do? Lin Chudong turned around and went to the Westinghouse with Xuan Er in his arms. Canned food, sugar, and biscuits, who gave them to Xuan Er? Lin Chudong deliberately asked loudly, pointing to a pile of delicious food on the Kong. Sister, Tang, Tang, sister. Xuan Er muttered indistinctly, stretching out his arms to reach. Lin Chudong gave him 2 pieces of candy. He grabbed 2 more biscuits and stuffed them into his little pocket. When Xuan Er grows up, he will buy food for my sister-in-law and treat her well, you understand? The little guy's mouth was bulging with sugar, so he nodded his head vigorously. These things were before Lin Beohe was admitted to the hospital. When Lin Chudong went to see them with Xuan Er in his arms, Chu Xia gave it to him, and the child remembered to eat it, so he firmly remembered that it was given by his sister-in-law. Lin Chudong sighed softly. Resting his chin on his son's head, he rubbed back and forth. Xuan Er, Daddy doesn't want you to be successful when you grow up, as long as you have a better mind. Just don't be like your mother. Dang bang, Zheng Senqiao threw the sweeping broom and hit the tea mug, making a loud noise. Startled, Xuan Er shuddered, just in time to get the sugar stuck in his throat. Immediately rolled his eyes. Xuan Er, Xuan Er. Lin Chudong stretched out his hand anxiously to pick it out, but the more anxious he was, the more he couldn't get it out. Seeing the child's face turn blue, he was so frightened that he hugged Xuan and ran out. "What's the matter? What's the matter with Xuan?" Zheng Sanqiao realized that something was wrong, and ran out barefoot. Lin Beijiang also hurriedly got off the Kong and chased outside. Lin Chudong didn't care about them. He only had one thought in his mind, to save his son. Zheng Sanqiao and Lin Beijiang chased to the door, but Lin Chudong had long since disappeared. "Father, what do you think happened to Xuan?" Zheng Sanqiao asked hurriedly. "I don't know." Lin Beijiang's eyes fell on the broom bump that fell on the ground, and he slapped his forehead fiercely. "Zheng Sanqiao, if something happens to Xuan, go back to your mother's house." "Why are you angry at me?" "It's not." Zheng Sanqiao wanted to say, "I didn't harm Xuan," but when she got to her mouth, she also realized something. Xuan was eating candy just now and was caught. She was so frightened, she didn't dare to think about it. Lin Chudong hugged Xuan and went straight to Dr. Zhao's house, the barefoot doctor in the village. Only Mrs. Zhao was at home in Zhao's family. "Fifth grandma, where is Dr. Zhao?" The old lady didn't actually hear it, but seeing Lin Chudong's expression and Xuan's expression in his arms, she couldn't understand, and shouted at the top of her voice, "Go to the commune for a meeting." Lin Chudong felt his mind go blank. On the way here, he turned Xuan backwards and outwards, but it was useless. When he ran to the town, the little guy's life would probably be gone. "By the way, my second uncle's family has a car." "Second uncle! Second uncle! Second uncle!" Shouting all the way and running into the house, Lin Chudong's eyes looked around without focus, and Lin Baohe hurried over from the crowd. "Chudong, what's wrong?" Just as Lin Chudong was about to answer, he felt his hand lighten. "Xuan, Xuan," he shouted anxiously, reaching out to grab the child from Jingzhe's hands. "If you want him to live, don't move." Glaring at him, Jingzhe sat on the chair and opened Xuan's mouth to take a look, then patted the back of his neck. At this time, the people crowded in the room couldn't understand what was going on, and all of them stared nervously at Jingzhe and the child in Jingzhe's arms, not daring to make a sound. Chu Xia moved to Lin Chudong's side and comforted him in a low voice. Brother Jing is a famous doctor in the province." Lin Chudong was so nervous that he couldn't say anything, so he just kept nodding his head, and tears kept streaming down his eyes, clearly feeling his fear and sadness from the bottom of his heart. Chu Xia only patted, rubbing his back, trying to make him relax. "Gilu, cough, cough." The voice was heard in everyone's ears. It was as sweet as fairy music, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief by coincidence. "Fortunately, it's sugar, and it doesn't get stuck deep, otherwise it would be troublesome without tools." Jingzhe lightly ran down Xuan's back and explained to everyone, "The sugar will melt due to the effect of saliva. However, it will stick to it, and it will be useless if you don't take it hard enough. If it is too much, it will hurt the child. It is difficult for inexperienced people to save themselves. Notice. Xuan. Xuan." Zheng Sanqiao howled and rushed in, followed by Lin Beijiang, who looked anxious. Sanqiao fell silent all of a sudden. "Wow wow wow." Xuan's cry rang out clearly. Lin Chudong was so excited that he didn't know why, so he simply thumped to kneel down to Jingzhe and was about to kowtow, but Chu Xia quickly stopped him. "Brother, what are you doing? Hurry up and hug Xuaner." Jingzhe smiled and handed Xuan to Lin Chudong. "Coaxing children is not my strong point." The other party took care of the child's funeral. He and Chu Xia pulled Lin Chudong up from left to right, and smiled at each other. "I'm a doctor, no matter whose family's children I meet, I will save them. You are Xuan's savior." Lin Chudong blushed, but he didn't know how to express his gratitude, and the veins on his neck stood out. Lin Baohe stepped forward and patted his nephew on the shoulder. "Chudong, Jingzhe is the elder brother of Chu Xia's grandpa's family, and also a good friend of your brother-in-law. There will be many things to do in the future. If you are really grateful, let Yuan remember him now. We must not forget Uncle Jing's life-saving grace in the future. Jing Zhe answered with a smile, that is, to train Chuan well and make him promising is the best thanks to me. Hey! 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 Apart from answering, Lin Chudong didn't know what to say anymore. He was already a dumb man. At this moment, he just experienced fear, excitement, and surprise, so he didn't know what to say. Zheng Sanqiao and Lin Beijiang stepped forward anxiously, reaching out their hands to hug Xuan. Lin Chudong twisted his body, avoiding the hands they extended, and didn't say a word. Chudong, mother knows it's wrong, don't blame mother, let mother hug Xuan. Chudong, let mother hug Xuan. Zheng Sanqiao stretched out his hand to his son while crying. Second uncle, second aunt, your family is busy today, so I won't be here to join in the fun, and I will come to see you later. As if he didn't see Zheng Sanqiao's extended hand, Lin Chudong walked towards Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe farewell, bowed to Jing Zhe again, hugged Xuan and went out. Zheng Sanqiao hesitated, and hurriedly chased him out. Lin Beijiang walked towards Lin Baohe, his lips trembled for a long time, but he didn't say a word. Hey! With a heavy sigh, Lin Baohe clapped his big hand on Lin Beijiang's shoulder. Brother, you don't need to say anything, as long as you live a good life, you will be my brother in the future. Baohe, I'm sorry, big brother is not a joke. After all these years, big brother has nothing to be sorry for you. I don't want to hide it. Just now we forced Beijiang to come and intercede for me. If he doesn't come, he mother became angry and threw the broom out, almost killing Xuan. We chased after Dr. Zhao's house, and the old lady said that Dr. Zhao was not at home, which really frightened us. When we came out to inquire, she said that Chudong came to the second brother's place with Xuan in his arms. Along the way, my heart was full of turmoil, and all kinds of bad thoughts came out. If something happened to Xuan, we grandparents would not be able to explain to him after death. It is said that it is for the good of the child, but in fact, it is still for the sake of my competitive face. Baohe, I am older than you for many years, but I have never understood it. I am sorry for you. Brother, from now on, just be good, just be good, it's not too late, it's not too late to understand, Lin Baohe said. His eyes were red. He could feel that Lin Beijiang didn't say this just to plot against him, she must have been really frightened by Xuan. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 422. The second watch arrives. Good. Among the crowd watching the fun outside, someone yelled, and the others followed suit. No matter what happened before, or what will happen in the future, anyway, now, one should be sincere. Repentance, the other should also be sincerely accepting, that's enough. From the point of view of the heart, everyone still hopes that Lin Baohe, Lin Beijiang, and others will not fall into a stalemate, and they will continue to return to Dalian village in the future if there is a bondage. Up. Of course, many people will not admit this kind of thinking, but it is indeed what they think. Lu Maiking, who rushed over with Lu Maifeng, heard the yelling, and didn't know what happened, so she curiously asked a daughter-in-law who was watching, what's going on inside? You don't know, the daughter-in-law raised her eyebrows, your Xuaner's throat got stuck from eating candy. Fortunately, your second uncle's family has a genius doctor who rescued him. Otherwise, tisk tisk. Xuaner. Lu Maiking hurriedly squeezed in. The daughter-in-law behind wanted to explain to her, but she didn't hold her back. After a while, her sister went in, and Lu Maifeng had to squeeze in along with her. The Lin family's room was full of people, and when the two of them squeezed in, they couldn't tell who was who. Like headless flies, Lu Miking spun around and cried Xuani'er. Helpless, Chuxia, who was closest to her, had no choice but to tug at her arm. Sister-in-law, elder brother has brought Xuani'er home. Ah, dazed for a moment, Lu Miking turned around and ran out. Lu Mifeng moved a step, but stopped there again. Smiling at Chuxia, Chuxia, congratulations. Last time you came back, I wanted to come and see you. I'm not ashamed. What's so embarrassing? Chuxia was still a little curious about her, so she said with a smile, anyway, you are also sister-in-law's sister. We have met many times before. Although you are not friends, you can still count acquaintances, right? Yes. Lu Mifeng smiled embarrassedly. I used to be stupid. My sister is actually a bitch with a knife and a bean-curd heart, so don't be angry with her. I'm not angry with her. The smile on Chuxia's face immediately faded. Little Chuxia, come here. The great aunt greeted me, Sister Mifeng. You do what you want. Chuxia apologized, turned around and walked towards Taigo's grandmother. When she got close, the old lady winked at her quietly, but her face was serious. Taigo's back hurts, give it a squeeze. Okay. Chuxia hurriedly stood behind her, helping to knead, bending slightly. She is the sister of my uncle's sister-in-law. We used to see her often when we lived with my uncle's family. We didn't have much contact with her. I can see that you are not close to her. Otherwise, old lady, I won't bother you. The aunt's grandmother squinted and smiled, little Chuxia. Your relatives here are not very good, but a few of them are not bad. Yes, it made me feel more at ease. Yeah, Uncle Gangshun, Grandpa Dagang, Uncle Jianfeng and Uncle Jiangxin all take good care of our family. Chuxia said. Gossip, I'm curious how this Lu Mifeng married to the second grandson of Grandpa Gang's family. He is the son of Uncle Jiangxin, and he has a bad leg. Lu Mifeng used to think of himself quite high, but for some reason, he took a fancy to brother Guangxin. By the way, the grand aunt thinks the names of Uncle Jiangxin and brother Guangxin are very interesting. Obviously they are father and son, but the last word is the same, he. The divergent thinking of someone's gossip made the old lady's black line. What are you going to tell me? What question do you want me to answer? Chuxia smiled and said, you don't need to answer, I just tell you. However, I know the word behind the father and son, saying that brother Guangxin was born in poor health, and the old man of the Chen family was still alive at that time. I said that my son's life could be suppressed with a word of father. Later, brother Guangxin had a bad leg, and everyone said that if it wasn't for Guangxin, what he lost would not be a leg, but a life. Grand aunt, do you believe this statement? I really can't say anything about this. Everyone says it's feudal superstition, but there are some things that are scary coincidences. Alas. Sighing, the old lady said, your grandparents, what I'm talking about is when your grandpa and grandma came to join me, your great-grandpa wrote me a letter. Me, I just saw the hope of the sky. One day I was cooking, and suddenly I felt dizzy. I heard your grandparents calling for help. When I recovered, I found myself standing in the water, fishing things out of the tank. I didn't dare to tell anyone about this, but I was so panicked that it was not a good omen. In the end, I didn't wait until your grandparents, and I knew in my heart that something happened to them at that time. In order to let everyone have a thought, I have never mentioned this matter. Xia, you are the first to know. Alas, if I hadn't seen your family, I probably would not have dared to say this in my life. Something to do. Chuxia sighed and didn't speak. After I found you, I figured it out. When your grandparents went, it happened to be the time when I was dizzy that day. So, the name of Jiangxin Guangxin may really be the same. My son. At the same time as Grandma Tai's voice fell, Old man Lin and Mrs. Lin rushed in crying, "What are they planning to do?" Chu Xia's face immediately showed anger. "I haven't done anything about sending my father into the hospital. It's really shameless to ask them to settle the score," but they found it themselves. As she was about to step forward, the grand aunt grabbed her. "Son, don't show up in this matter." "Grandma." Chu Xia stared at the old lady with an awkward expression. "I can't let them bully my parents anymore. I didn't owe them anything in the first place, and it's endless." "Xia, don't worry about it, your parents have a solution at some point." Yang Aihua stood beside Chu Xia. "Little aunt," Chu Xia looked at her puzzled, "when did you come?" "It's been a while." Yang Aihua smiled at her. "I talked to your mother about something and returned some things." "Xia, I won't come with you. I just want you to come back when you are capable. You don't need to worry about Chuchun, Chukiu, he always dislikes you, but Chuchun really protects you. My aunt either asks you to help him now, or if you have the ability in the future, it just happens to happen, just help him out, okay?" "Okay." Chu Xia nodded cheerfully. "I will help with Chuchun's affairs, and I will help if you don't tell me, auntie, but he is a person with very strong self-esteem, and when he shouldn't, I won't come forward." "That's it." Yang Aihua was obviously much more relaxed. "He insists on going to be a soldier. According to his size and appearance, it should be about the same. My aunt just wants to let him not be given to him when he is qualified to be a volunteer in the future. Just replace it. No problem. Xia." After a pause, Yang Aihua finally didn't say anything, just smiled at Taiko's grandma, dodged back, and stopped talking. Mrs. Lin and Mrs. Lin were surrounding Lin Baohe from left to right to express their regrets, saying that they should not have sent Lin Baohe to the hospital in anger. However, they were also in a panic at the time, thinking that the son they had raised with one hand had done what they said. Someone else's home becomes someone else's home. I couldn't stand the gap, so I deliberately went to the extreme, but afterward, my stomach turned green with regret. Well, it's time to play the emotional card again. Chu Xia shook his head speechlessly, and at the same time understood that Mrs. Lin felt that if she didn't make a fuss this time, it would not be good for her in the future. "Be sure to fight for some benefits for yourself." Lin Baohe's face was very calm, and it could be seen that the quarrel of the old couple could no longer arouse his mood swings. Zhao Yulan stood side by side with him, her face was also calm. Howling and howling, Mrs. Lin couldn't keep howling, she simply sat down on the ground, and started to talk about how difficult it is for her to raise a few children. This kind of thing is the easiest to resonate with. However, if you use a trick once, will it work again? The spectators who had been dispersed gathered around again, and the courtyard was full of people. The old lady's wailing was matched by the children's slapstick and school cries. Old man Lin hit his old wife, looked at Lin Baohe tremblingly, and explained nakedly why he came. "Baohe, I know, you have found your relatives, and you no longer have us in your eyes, even if we die in front of you now, and you won't take a second look. Anyway, your mother and I raised you up with shit and shit, but if you think a little bit about us, you promise us one thing, and you will work in the city as a worker in Chukiu. From now on, we will never ask you, even if you, your mother and I starve to death, we won't beg you again." Lin Chukiu, who was in the crowd, clenched his fists nervously, forgetting to breathe. Lin Baojiang suddenly took a step forward and stood in front of old man Lin and Mrs. Lin. "Father, mother, don't make things difficult for Baohe and Yulan. As long as you treat them as relatives, you can't count them like this. The reason for raising Dabao is because the property left by his parents is in your hands. With that money, you can raise 10 Baohes without any problem. You were plotting against Baohe in the house, and when I was plotting against Chu Xia, I was outside. At that time, I also had selfish motives, and I also wanted to get some credit with you, so I didn't expose you. But now, I can't do anything ignorant of my conscience. I almost killed Xuan today. That's God's retribution. Down. It's a debt, and it has to be paid back sooner or later. God has eyes. Bao he has been wronged for so many years. Now, everything has been paid back to him. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 423. The first update arrives, the next update is 5 o'clock, and the third update is coded out, and the last 2 updates will be uploaded after the repair is completed. Lin Beijiang's defection was not expected by old man Lin. Just now when the old wife was talking about forgetting things, everyone's expressions made him clearly understand that it is useless to play the emotional card at the moment. Therefore, he decided to settle for the next best thing, wanting to completely end the relationship with his second son's family with a one-shot deal. As far as the style of the second son's family returning home today, everyone absolutely understands that his request is not easy for the second son, but it is not difficult either. Moreover, he asked for his little grandson, not for himself and his old wife. In the eyes of many people, this should be forgiven. No matter whether he was close to his second son or not, it is a fact that he raised him. The last requirement is really insignificant when compared with the grace of upbringing. Why choose to seek benefits for the little grandson? Everyone only thinks that he is the little grandson who loves him the most. In fact, this is the result of his many considerations. After all, he was the child who grew up under his own eyes, and he still understood the character of the second son. Even if he severed ties with them, if the eldest grandson Lin Chudong and the second grandson Lin Chuchun encountered difficulties, the second son would not sit idly by. Ignore. In the past, he didn't like how the eldest grandson and the second grandson protected the second son's family. Now, he is very grateful for what the 2 children did. Otherwise, things would have been really difficult. Now he only needs to think about his grandson. This child has always been the favorite of him and his wife, but at the same time, he also understood that the most ruthless person was actually this little grandson. That's how people are. When nothing happens, I always like the one with the sweetest mouth. When something happens and I think about it, I realize that there is no way to be rescued. Even so, I may still behave as before. He and his wife have reached this age, and what they will face later is the real problem of providing for the elderly. When they are old and unable to move, they have a caring son and daughter. More than anything else, he can't count on the eldest son's family. All hopes can only be placed on the younger son's side, and this has always been his plan. Everyone said that he loves the younger son the most, and has no affection for the eldest son and the second son. Actually, is that really the case? He gave birth to 3 sons and a daughter. After bringing Lin Baohe back to replace his second son, he couldn't accept this child from the bottom of his heart. But I have to say, this child's life is quite big. He and his old wife just gave him a bite to eat when it was time to eat, and left him to fend for himself when he was sick. Even so, he survived. If he and his old wife don't like the child, it doesn't matter whether they like him or not. But he couldn't really kill him. After all, his parents died to save their son. However, they never made plans to let their second son retire. Until now, see him. They still think about the lost son, not because they have deep feelings for that son, anyway, they just don't want to remember it. It is impossible for the daughter to take care of the elderly, so the eldest son and the younger son are left. As far as Zheng Sanqiao's temperament is concerned, if they really provide for them in the old age, the woman may kill them with a pack of rat poison when they can't move, so they have always put all their hopes on the younger son's side. Well, although the youngest daughter-in-law has a lot of eyes, she has more face than the eldest daughter-in-law, and those who want face will not do things too much. Since I plan to stay at my youngest son's home for the elderly, we must make overall arrangements. Chu Chun is hard-spoken and stubborn, but sincere in heart, Shukyu is sweet-mouthed and easygoing, but if he doesn't agree with him at all, he will turn his back on him. Only when the little grandson is satisfied can he live comfortably in this family. It was based on this idea that he put the final request on his little grandson. He believes that if the problem of the youngest grandson is solved, the little grandson will be satisfied, the youngest son will be satisfied, and the youngest daughter-in-law will also be satisfied. Then they will stay at the youngest son's home for the elderly, so that they can really die well. He has taken everything into consideration, except that the eldest son will give him such a show. If the eldest son does not intervene, the second son must agree to him whether he wants to or not, unless he doesn't want to stay in Dahlin village anymore, unless he doesn't want to lose face in front of Chusya's in-laws, otherwise, agreeing to him is his only way out. But now, the eldest son stood up and told the inhumane fact, and the second son could pretend to be deaf and dumb to fool the matter away. Not only would the people in the village not pity him, but they would also laugh at him, take other people's things, and treat the other son badly. The situation that was already under control was reversed in an instant. Old man Lin looked at his eldest son with a sharp gaze like a knife. Lin Beijiang looked at him without flinching. "Father, I know you will hate me now, but I also believe that one day you will thank me. You are doing yourself a favor. You." Old man Lin pointed at his eldest son, trembling all over. "When did I take Baohe's parents' things? Did you see them or who saw them? If there are those good things, our family can live like this tight?" The couple left a burden, but there was nothing in it except some dry food and a few ragged clothes. "Both think your mother and I are cruel and treat Baohe badly. How can we applaud it? If it weren't for the fact that the couple died to save your younger brother, your mother and I wouldn't pick up this mouth no matter what we said. If those couple hadn't rushed to jump into the river, your mother and I would have to find a way to save your younger brother." Leaning on the broken shoes and pricking his feet, "It's hard to say whether it's a benefactor or an enemy. Say it again. If you have the guts, say it again." It was Grandpa Lin who stood up. He had been watching from the sidelines, but at this moment, he really couldn't help but stand up and speak. At that time, he and his second brother left together, and he knew exactly what the other was holding. Now he knows that his nephew has suffered so much under the hands of this old man. Brothers and sisters, such a person really can't save face for him. "Who are you?" Old man Lin stared at Grandpa Lin with his neck straightened. "This is our family's business, so don't meddle in it." He regarded Grandpa Lin as Chusya's in-laws. "I'm the brother of the man who died trying to save your son. Do you think I don't know what he brought with him when he left home? Do you think I'm not qualified to take care of his affairs? We've been looking for him for so many years, but we didn't expect that he lost his life to save your son, and you treat his son like this, but whoever has a conscience can do such a thing. Originally, I thought, whether you treat Zhiliang well or not, he was raised by you, and his life is more important than anything else, but now, since you slandered my younger brother and younger siblings, I can no longer pretend to be deaf and dumb up. They saved people with good intentions and lost their lives. You still have the face to say something, but I want to ask you, why didn't you jump into the water to save the child? As a parent, if your child falls into the water, and you still want to find a stick or a rope, do you think that the child is just a vegetable leaf, floating on the water and waiting for you?" Old man Lin's face turned red, but he couldn't find a reason to justify himself. Yes, he didn't jump off the first time. At that time, it was fine to stand up and put on a show even in the diving. Who said he didn't want to dance? Just as he was about to jump, the man who came over to meddle in other things stopped him. The man said he could swim, so he went down to save him. Seeing that her old man was about to suffer, Mrs. Lin hurried to help him. Argued. "Really?" Uncle Lin stared at Mrs. Lin coldly. "Because my younger brother said he would rescue him, you can stand on it with peace of mind and watch him sink with your children? Why did his wife jump off after him when he was in danger?" and not you. There is still your child in the river, even if you don't want to save him, you don't want to save your own child. No matter how much you explain, you can't deny the fact that you are cruel and heartless. In short, we are here today. Apart from moving the graves of my younger brother and younger siblings, we must also tell you clearly that my nephew does not owe you any favors, and you have no right to make any demands on him. Also, go back now and find out what belongs to my younger brother and younger siblings, or wait for me to send people to search. Not only will I send people to search, but I will also arrest you and put them in prison. Don't think that you are too old, I won't catch you. Who knows whether the deaths of my younger brother and younger siblings were accidental or intentional for the murder of the two of you. Originally I wanted to forget it, but you forced me to take this step. If you want to blame, you can blame yourself. How can you be unreasonable? Old man Lin looked at Lin Baohe. Didn't you take everything away? Why isn't it over yet? If we didn't raise you, would you be able to live so long? It's just a kitten and puppy. After raising them for so many years, you also have feelings, right? Are you sure we took them all away? Zhao Yulan stepped forward, staring at old man Lin and Mrs. Lin. Think about it, did you really take them all away? Originally, things belonging to my parents-in-law were spent by you, and we didn't plan to pursue it, but now it seems that it is impossible not to pursue it. Do you want my uncle to make a list for you to see? I'm dizzy, oops, dizzy, my wife, help me go back and have a rest first. The obviously frightened old man Lin began to pretend to be sick to evade the truth. Uncle Lin and Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan didn't stop him, so he was allowed to be beaten by Mr. Lin. Tai helped her step by step and walked out. Let's go, Grandpa Dagong sighed, stood up and waved his hands at the crowd. What should I do? If I really want to share my love with Baohe, when the grave is raised tomorrow, I'll go to burn incense sticks. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 424. The second watch arrives. Grandpa Dagong's prestige in the village is there. Of course, everyone will sell his face when he speaks. Moreover, the excitement is almost over. Now everyone urgently needs 3 groups of 5 groups to digest the gossip. When there were no outsiders in the house, Grandpa Dagong looked at Grandpa Lin guiltily. It's not that I don't want to help Baohe. I live in a village. I can't say anything about this kind of thing. Brother, you have to take care of it. Brother, don't say that, we understand your difficulties. Uncle Lin also sighed. We don't want to pursue anything that is similar, but I can see that old couple too. If they don't scare them, they will still have to fix some messy things. Zhiliang has feelings for the village, and he wants to come back often in the future. I can't follow him every time, so this time I've sorted things out, and we can rest assured when he comes back in the future. There was no outsider in the room she couldn't trust, so Zhao Yulan took out a gold bracelet, a gold ring and gold earrings from her pocket. Baohe's daughter-in-law brought them here, and said that the old lady gave them to her. Grandpa Lin took it over, looked at it carefully, and nodded. Yes, they belong to our family. There should be 3 pairs of gold bracelets. I can't remember the earrings and rings. If she can give these to her daughter-in-law, it means that the remaining it's still in her hands. Ah, Grandpa Dagong sighed again. If it wasn't for the fact that there is no place to sell them, there probably wouldn't be any left. Those couple were eaters and spenders when they were young. Chu Xia was secretly dumbfounded. Fortunately it was this era, if it were 5 years later. There is absolutely nothing left of these things, or there are many good things in the old man and old lady. Take it. Just thinking about it, Grandma Lin handed the bracelet and finger to her. Take it as the dowry given to you by your grandparents, and let your grandpa take back the rest for you. Okay, I'll take it. Chu Xia happily put it in his pocket, and laughed. In the blink of an eye, I'm also a rich man. You child. Zhao Yulan looked at her amusedly and angrily. How can you protect things like this? You haven't even read it yet, so you put it away. It's nothing to look at. You can't wear it outside now, but when you can wear it in the future, you will see it. Chuxia made a financial fan. I want to see it after it's in my pocket. How is that possible? You child. At this moment, even Lin Bao he couldn't laugh or cry. I'm just kidding you. Chuxia took out the things with a grin, and stuffed them into Zhao Yulan's hands. Mother, this is a betrothal gift from your grandparents, you accept it? They will be happy. Zhao Yulan's eye sockets turned red immediately. When she married Lin Bao the Lin family didn't give a single gift, and she brought many things from home. Because she likes Lin Bao she doesn't care whether she sticks to it or not, but it would be a lie to say that she didn't care about gossip from outsiders at all. Daughter does it? It was obviously trying to make up for her regrets, for fear that she would be embarrassed to accept it. Just lift the real parents-in-law out to crush her. The daughter is really grown up and knows how to love others. I can't wear it either. I'm worried about losing it. I don't want it, Zhao Yulan said as she returned the item to Mrs. Lin. It felt like holding a hot potato. Hold it. Grandma Lin stuffed it back into her hand, and firmly held her hand. This belongs to your parents-in-law. We are not qualified to collect it for you. If you want to give it to your daughter and grandson in the future, that is your freedom. Anyway, you have to accept it now. Seeing that his wife was still trying to evade, Lin Bao he sighed softly. Yulan, if your parents are alive, they will definitely give you more than this. Accept it? Accepting it means that you approve of the Lin family. If you agree to marry me, you will not marry me regret. I didn't regret it at all, Zhao Yulan whispered. Master, these are left by the second master. Two tall and strong men brought in a small bag and handed it to Grandpa Lin, who opened it conveniently. Inside were several other bracelets that were the same as the bracelet just now. Plus a pair of gold earrings, a gold ring, 4 fine jade pendants, 2 golden hairpins, and a pair of silver bracelets. One of the men pointed to the silver bracelet and said, "The old lady took it off by herself, we didn't force it." The corner of Chuxia's mouth twitched. Just that old lady, wouldn't she be forced to twitch? Unless it is brain changed. Take it. Grandpa Lin handed everything to Zhao Yulan, whether you can wear it or not, and you can see people or not, these are all handed down by the ancestors of the Lin family, and the ones you pick out are all real family heirlooms. These jewelry are all things in the palace, put them away properly, the direction of the wind will not change again, don't worry. Obviously, Grandpa Lin didn't want Zhao Yulan to dare to accept it because of fear. In the past few years, if these things were found from anyone's house, they would all be confiscated, and even lost their heads for it. Well, from this point of view, Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin are very brave. Okay, I'll take it. After Grandpa Lin said that, Zhao Yulan would certainly not refuse, otherwise, it would seem that she didn't dare to take it because she was afraid of getting into trouble. Almost no one doesn't like these things, but because of the age, they can only be kept privately. However, even after a few years, these things can't be worn out. Chuxia studied them one by one, secretly regretting, except for the bracelet and the ring, and others, probably can only be kept at the bottom of the box, which is too wasteful. In the eyes of the great aunt, she only thought that she liked these things because of a girl's nature, so she smiled and said, "Xiao Chuxia, there are some small things that the great aunt can bring, and the great aunt will bring them to you later." No, 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 Chuxia hurriedly refused. "Grandma, I'm a quasi-military doctor, how can I wear jewelry? It's a waste if you give it to me." The old lady made up her mind to give it. It's the same if you just leave it alone, there is nothing to waste. Helpless, Chuxia had no choice but to cast her eyes on Zhao Yulan for help. "It's useless to look at me, what can I do?" A certain mother unscrupulously sold her daughter. The lunch is ready-made steamed stuffed buns, and Zhao Yulan just got out of the pot. Fat Ant and Luo Gang came over with 2 food boxes, stir-fried pork with leeks, fried pork with celery, fried pork with garlic moss, stewed tofu with Chinese cabbage, fried sari fish and stewed mushrooms chicken, very hearty 6 dishes. Everyone was courteous and had a lively lunch. After the meal, everyone was chatting. Chu Xia walked to Jingzhe and whispered, "Brother, come with me to my uncle's house." Okay, Jingzhe didn't ask the reason, and responded happily, got up and followed her out. Lin Wenbin quickly chased her out. "Where are you going? Why don't you take me? My sister and I have some things to do, can you not meddle?" Although he didn't know what Chu Xia asked him to do, but instinctively, Jingzhe didn't like someone robbing him of his sister. "Chu Xia is my younger sister, she is related by blood, and she is closer than you." Lin Wenbin smiled shyly at Chu Xia. "Xia, if you need to find my brother in the future, we will be closer." Okay, let's go together." Chu Xia couldn't reason, so he had to drag the two together and bring them both. "Sister, where are we going now?" Lin Wenbin asked curiously. His image and personality really don't match up to death. He is a tall and strong man around 1.8 meters, chattering, and loves to gossip. Chu Xia looked at him, which was funny. Shaking his head, "Brother, I really admire you, how can you make your image and personality so polarized? I'm only this close to you." "Do you think I'm close to everyone?" Lin Wenbin rolled his eyes. "I treat you like my own sister, Chu Xia, you can't break my heart." Okay, I won't hurt your heart." Chu Xia shook his head amusedly. "I'll go to my uncle's house. It's not easy for my parents to come forward about this matter, so it's most suitable for me to go." "Beat that old man and old lady." Lin Wenbin rolled up his sleeves, eager to try. Chu Xia looked him up and down. "Are you planning to beat them with your own hands? It's kind of bullying for me to beat them up." "I'll leave it to you, the old man. If anyone else dares to help, I'll beat you to death." After speaking, Lin Wenbin waved his fist with a little excitement on his face. "Why don't you go back?" Chu Xia stopped and pushed him back. "I'm afraid of you looking so smart." "What is a frame? Psychopathy for fighting." Lin Wenbin. Jingzhe grinned. "Go back, Jiajing. I think you're a good fighter." Lin Wenbin rolled his eyes at him, then looked at Chu Xia curiously. "You didn't go to fight, then what did you do? Could it be that you have to apologize to them? Why are they so beautiful?" Seeing that this big cousin is a master who breaks the casserole pattern to the end, Chu Xia had to explain to him in a low voice, "I don't worry if I don't go and see. What should I do if my parents are bullied again in the future?" "I don't understand." Lin Wenbin shook his head in confusion. "Forget it, I'll just follow you, I don't need to understand." When they arrived at Lin Baohai's home, Mrs. Lin was sitting under the con crying with tears and snot running down her nose. Chu Chun sat on the side watching the fun with a blank expression on his face, while Lin Chuki squatted by the door with a dead face, not knowing what he was thinking. The appearance of the three made the voices in the room suddenly stop. "What are you doing here?" Granny Lin got up from the ground with a high-pitched voice, stretched out her hand and took a step forward, and after seeing Jingzhe and Lin Wenbin, she quickly shrank back in fright. "Want to hit me?" Chu Xia looked at her with a funny face. "Do you really want to go to jail? Hit me if you want to go, come on, I'm sure I won't hide, but I also guarantee that you will wear out the prison. Don't believe you, just try it." Mrs. Lin shrank her neck and stopped talking. Old man Lin rolled his eyes at Chu Xia, and put down his cigarette pouch. "You came to see a joke. Now that you see it, let's go." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 425. It's 3 o'clock. You think I'm here to see your jokes? Chusia looked at old man Lin coldly. You think it's really worth me to watch the jokes just because of you? Then what are you doing here? Lin Baohai stared at her gloomily, feeling that all hope of life had been shattered. Chusia, no matter what, my uncle has nothing to do to you, so why not come here and kill them all? Up to now, you still think it's all about you. Chusia sighed heavily. That's right, you people always think the worst about others. Once I walked in, before I said anything, you thought I was here. It's a joke. To be honest, I don't need to read your jokes, I can imagine them all. I came here because I have been a family member for so many years, to do my last heart. Chusia, did you promise to give me a quota? Lin Chukio stood up suddenly, staring at Chusia with hope. Don't worry, as long as you help me with this matter, in the future, I will say good things about your family everywhere. If I dare to say a word no to you, I will die of gut piercing. Stay aside first. Chusia glared at him, then looked at Mr. Lin. Do you feel that what you have worked so hard to get is getting farther and farther away from you? Old man Lin snorted as an answer. If you had treated my father and our family kindly from the beginning, the result would definitely not be what it is today. As for whether my father's relatives can still be met, that is another matter, but, no matter whether they meet or not, no, none of you will be worse off than you are now. If you still want to fight for yourself in this way in the future, then I promise you'll lose more, and I'm not lying. I came here to hope that you would never come near my parents again. No matter whether you give up or don't give up, don't do these thankless things anymore. Live a good life, live a good life. One day maybe my father will recognize you as relatives, otherwise. Chusia spread his hands. You don't need to explain it to me, do you understand? Old man Lin frowned. Are you threatening me? You have already taken advantage of it, and you have done it. What else is there to worry about? Huh. Dogs can't change eating shit. Don't worry, you're going to have trouble with me, okay? Muxia muttered in a voice that she could only hear, and cleared her throat. I've already pointed out the way for you, go or not, whatever you want. As he said that, he walked out. Chu Chu anxiously went to pull her, but was grabbed by Lin Wenbin. What are you doing? Don't make any moves. I'm her cousin. I'm her cousin. Dear. Lin Wenbin snorted at him. What about you, are you close too? Is there such a thing as a bully? Chu Chu looked at Chu Xia with an aggrieved face. It's a matter of convenience, can you help me? It's about Chuchun. I will help, but you, it's impossible, Chuxia said while pulling Chuchun out. Chuchun frowned in disgust. You are a woman. Don't talk about it. Just pull, break away if you have the ability. Chu Xia glared at him. There are a lot of problems. You. Being stared at by Chu Xia, Chu Chun's face blushed inexplicably. You let me go, I won't run away. Really, I don't want your man to beat me up. With a glance at Jie, it is obvious that he regards Jing Jie as Chu Xia's husband. Don't look at him, he is also my brother. Your brother-in-law is on a mission and didn't come while speaking. Chu Chun was pulled outside the door, and Chu Xia let him go. I just want to ask you, I really plan to be a soldier already? If you want the number of workers, I will help you. Don't, Chu Chun waved his hand. If I really want to be a worker, I will do it on my own ability. What kind of ability is it to rely on a woman? Also, you are not allowed to interfere with my military service. If you let me know, don't blame me for being rude. Hey, have you been hugged wrong too? Chu Xia looked him up and down with a research face. Why is it so different from your family? It's not good to ask you to help, and it's not right not to let you help. You really have a lot of problems. Chu Chun rolled his eyes, and his face became serious. Shuxia, although we are not relatives in the future, it is possible that the former love is not all at once. It can be wiped away. I know what you mean by coming. It's their fault that they don't understand. Anyway, I thank you. In the past, I thought you were quite ignorant, but now, you are more sensible than anyone else. This is the second uncle. The second aunt's blessing is also your own blessing. In the future, when someone bullies you and others don't vent their anger on you, you will come to me. Whether we are siblings or not, I will work hard for you. Tears flickered in Chusea's eyes. Stinky boy, you used to be so fierce to me, now I won't be moved by whatever you say. Who moved you? Shuchun cast a sideways glance at her, then turned and went back to the yard. Standing there in a daze for a long time, Chusea breathed a sigh of relief, and smiled at Jingzhe and Lin Wenbin who were looking at her worriedly. Let's go home. Lin Wenbin patted his forehead quietly. You just want to give them a way out, so that they don't feel that there is no hope at all, and continue to target the second uncle and the second aunt, right? Is that what it means? People can do anything without thinking. My parents are reluctant to be here, so I have to think more about them. They are all kind-hearted people, and now they are angry, and the old man and the old lady of the Lin family have done too much, so they can treat them as nothing. However, after the fire is over, they will probably feel that what they have done is a bit extreme. If Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin go to extremes, they will probably blame themselves for the rest of their lives. I can't tell, you think a lot at such a young age. Lin Wenbin rubbed her head amusedly. No wonder Zhou Mikang likes my little cousin. It turns out that my little cousin is so different. Alas, what a pity. If you weren't my cousin, I would marry you back home. By the way, Jingzhe, you are so stupid. I am such a good cousin, and you have the advantage of taking the opportunity I let Zhou Mikang snatch it away. Is there anyone more useless than you? Does it make me feel uncomfortable if you don't joke for a while? Jingzhe glared at him. Don't you know what a gentleman does and what he doesn't do? Also, Chusea is my sister now. Don't just go for what you have and what you don't. What the I'm fine. What should I do if someone misunderstood Chusea? Are you treating Chusea as a younger sister? Okay, you have a lot of reason. They walked halfway, and happened to meet Chen Jiangxin who came to look for them. Hurry up, the second brother and the second sister-in-law are anxious to find you to go to Xiaolin village, said to take everyone to identify the door. Why do you suddenly want to go to Grandma's house? Chusea asked Zhao Yulan suspiciously on the way. It was suggested by your great-grandpa. He said that Grandpa Dagong and the others will help in moving the grave anyway, so he will visit your grandpa and grandpa instead of your grandpa and grandma. That's it? Chusea thought for a while, and said, then when you are talking at Grandma's house, I will go to my little aunt's house. No matter how it is because of my little aunt that the truth comes to light. It is estimated that the Lin family will not be able to treat the little aunt well in the future. I have to forgive her. I said before that I should be filial to the little aunt as my own mother. Now I have to tell her that I mean it. Zhao Yulan hugged her daughter in her arms. My girl has the best heart. Girl is kind. Follow me, Lin Bao, he said proudly. I'm not kind. Zhao Yulan rolled her eyes at her husband. I'm talking to my daughter, don't mix it up. Okay, I don't get involved in the affairs of the two of you. Zhao Yulan smiled and waved her hands, then looked at Lin Wenbin who was sitting in the back laughing. Your second aunt is not forgiving, but her heart is actually pretty good. I know, Lin Wenbin nodded again and again. Second uncle and aunt, our family is kind-hearted. It's not like the family doesn't enter the house, haha. That's it? Chusea has a black thread. Is there such a family that praises each other? The sudden appearance of this large group of people in Xiaolin village caused a sensation no less than that in Dalin village, including Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao, who were stunned by this mighty group of people. When listening to his daughter introducing everyone one by one, Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao were still in the fog. Mainly, this matter was too fast. The daughter and son-in-law just told them that Mrs. Lin, the old man in Dalin village, was not my parents, but I turned around and brought relatives from my parents' family. It wasn't until they entered the room and sat down that the old man and the old lady really came back to their senses. When they went to the early summer wedding, they had seen the world. After the couple recovered their senses, they behaved appropriately. The old lady Zhao got off the Kong and pulled Zhao Yulan to the side and whispered, "Yulan, your eldest brother and Kiwi accompanied your sister-in-law back to her mother's house. When she left, she said that she would come back in the evening, so your father and I will answer the questions of everyone. Son, etiquette is not thoughtful. What are you whispering?" Chu Xia moved her head closer. Zhao Yulan poked her daughter's forehead. "It's just right, this job is for you. Let your brother accompany you to welcome your uncle and aunt back. They have returned to Poer village." "Okay, I'll go right away." Chu Xia followed Zhao Kiwi to Zhao Kiwi's grandma's house. She may not remember the specific door, but she still knows how to get to Poer village. The brother Zhao Yulan was talking about was of course Jingzhe, but Lin Wenbin, the sister-in-law, was reluctant to follow, so the two-person trip turned into a three-person trip, so Jingzhe had no choice but to drive a seven-seater off-road vehicle and hit the road, gouging out his eyeballs dissatisfied. The roads in the village are narrow and difficult to walk, you have to follow along to join in the fun, it really makes you worry to death. You should have said it earlier. It's not too late now. Jingzhe stopped quickly and was about to back up, but Mr. Lin said unhurriedly, "It depends on the car if you don't have good skills. Get down, and I'll drive." First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 426. Lin Xiaofen decided to have an operation, because she still has to wait for her eyesight to recover before she can bring up a child for Anran. Knowing that Anran was worried about the risks of the operation, Su Yuchen assured her that he would contact the experts in the United States to ensure that the risks of the operation were minimized. Gu Hengwen transferred the class, but because he was in the third grade of senior high school, he was directly facing the college entrance examination problem, so after the transfer, several classes continued without a break in between, and in addition, he had been in the hospital for the past few days to take care of Lin Xiaofen. Under such a high load, Gu Hengwen's body was a little overwhelmed. When standing on the podium for class, he was so dizzy that he almost fell on the podium. The students were worried and sent them directly to the hospital. The doctor said it was due to fatigue. In addition, I told him that at his age, his physique is not as good as it was back then, so he should pay more attention to rest. After Lin Xiaofen knew about it, she refused to allow him to transfer classes to increase her burden. In addition, he was not allowed to come to the hospital after class at noon. Gu Hengwen protested, but was directly rejected and invalid. In the end, under Lin Xiaofen's insistence, Gu Hengwen came to the hospital after get off work every night come to accompany Lin Xiaofen. And Anran has to come over every day, but after all, she has a big belly, so many things are inconvenient, so Su Yuchen directly called Mrs. Zhang over to take care of her, and Qin Yun also came here a few times, giving her tonics and cooking it herself. Tang, reassure her to relax, don't think too much, she will help take care of one of the two grandchildren in the future. Although Lin Xiaofen and Qin Yun didn't meet each other for a few times, they felt like old friends at first sight. There was always a lot to talk about when they met. The two talked and laughed. Lin Xiaofen seemed in a particularly good mood. It's also good to look up, and there is less sickness on the face, and it doesn't look like a patient at all. Anran still had to come to the hospital every day, but because she was a pregnant woman, Lin Xiaofen strictly controlled her time and did not allow her to stay in the hospital for too long. Although Anran wanted to spend more time with her mother, but because of the baby in her belly, she could only I can obey the arrangement, come here every afternoon, and then stay in the hospital for an hour or two to talk with my mother, and then Su Yuchen will come to pick her up in the evening. The punishment for Su Yuchen has not been formalized yet, but due to the urgency of the Science and Technology City case, and the recent turmoil in the municipal committee, Many things still have to be taken care of by Suyuchan temporarily, but in view of the Yanzeaman incident, and the matter of Ling Chuanzhang and Tong Wenhai. In order to prevent some people from monopolizing the power, the Provincial Party Committee assigned another person to the construction of the Science and Technology City. In this way, most of the work in Suyuchan's hands was divided. It turned out that his rights were cut, but Suyuchan himself felt quite satisfied, so his workload was reduced by more than half, so he could spare more time and energy to spend with Anran and his children every day. After finishing the work at hand, Suyuchan came out of the office and drove to the hospital. He didn't go to Lin Xiaofen's ward first, but went directly to the office of Lin Xiaofen's attending doctor. When he arrived, Dr. Zhang still had a patient, so he didn't bother him. He nodded towards Dr. Zhang, then exited again and stood at the door to wait. A few minutes later, after the patient's family member in the office came out, Suyuchan opened the door and went in. Dr. Zhang nodded to him and told him to sit down on the chair in front of the desk. Recently, he has gotten used to Suyuchan coming to him first every time he comes to the hospital to inquire about Lin Xiaofen's condition. At first he felt a little uncomfortable and cramped. After all, the identity of the teacher really made people feel a little stressed, but later he came more often, and he got used to it. It's really stressful for Mayor Su to come here so often, Dr. Zhang said jokingly. Director Zhang, just treat me as a family member of an ordinary patient, Suyuchan said indifferently. I just came here to ask about my mother-in-law's condition. Dr. Zhang nodded with a smile, took out Lin Xiaofen's medical records from the file column, and said casually, well, those who don't know thought it was Mayor Su's mother who was hospitalized. She is my mother, Su Yicheng said seriously. Dr. Zhang was stunned for a moment, feeling that he had made a slip of the tongue, and only said with a dry smile, yes, it seems that I can't speak anymore when I get older. Suddenly remembered the mayor's pornographic photos that had been widely circulated on the internet and newspapers before. Incident. Many netizens on the internet expressed doubts about the conclusion given by the police, saying that this is all official rhetoric, and the purpose is to maintain Suyuchan's image, and the details have yet to be investigated. But at this moment, he felt that the so-called official rhetoric might be the whole story. How could such a man who treats his mother-in-law as his biological parent and loves his wife so much that he doesn't want her to cry? The wife is sorry for the family affairs. Looking through Lin Xiaofen's medical records, Dr. Zhang said, from a professional perspective, when I tested her strength in the morning, she found that her eyesight had dropped significantly, which means that the tumor in her brain has pressed the optic nerve, and surgery should be imminent. Su Yicheng frowned, and asked, have you contacted the hospital in the United States? Dr. Zhang nodded and said, well, the email that came last night has already asked the people over there to arrange beds and outpatient hours for experts. Sure enough, if everything is ready on your side, you can leave any time this week. My side, you can also pass the medical records over there. Okay, then I will trouble Director Zhang to arrange it. I will tell my mother-in-law today. Suyuchan stood up and said politely. It should. Director Zhang nodded and got up to send him out. When Suyuchan was in Lin Xiaofen's ward, Anran was sitting in front of the hospital bed, chatting and laughing happily with Lin Xiaofen. She didn't notice even when he opened the door to enter. Anran, turn on the light, Lin Xiaofen suddenly said to Anran with a smile on the hospital bed. Anran was taken aback, turned her head and looked out the window. It was not dark yet, the sun had not set yet, it was still bright outside. She looked at her mother in a daze, and asked, Mom, what's wrong with you? Lin Xiaofen was taken aback by the question, subconsciously stretched out her hand to touch her face, and said, what's wrong, is there something on my face? No, you said to turn on the light. The panic in her heart was a bit exaggerated, and Anran's big eyes were fixed on her mother. Why don't you turn on the lights when it's dark? Lin Xiaofen didn't care, and suddenly thought of something, and asked again, by the way, Ah Cheng is busy today, why haven't you come here yet? Mom and Ran wanted to say, but was interrupted directly by Su Yicheng, who came in at this time. And Ran Su Yicheng made a sound, winking at her, signaling her not to speak, then turned his head to look at Lin Xiaofen, who was on the hospital bed, and said, "Yeah, I'm a little busy in the office today, so I'm late," and then asked, "How is Mom feeling today? Is there any discomfort?" "No, no, I'm fine. There is no problem in being discharged from the hospital now, but you are all nervous." Following the voice, I looked towards Su Yicheng, but I could only roughly see Su Yicheng's approximate location, and it was still very vague. I sighed softly in my heart, knowing that her eyesight is getting worse and worse. When she took the vision test in the morning, she could hardly see what Dr. Zhang pointed out to her, and it was all based on her own wild guesses. And Ran opened her eyes wide and looked at her mother, and then turned her head to look at Su Yicheng, who was standing beside her. Su Yicheng knew the panic in her heart, so he just stretched out his hand and patted her hand. Su was afraid that they would see the clue, so Lin Xiaofen drove them away with a smile, and said, "Hurry up and go back, and Ran is pregnant, and don't stay in the hospital all the time, there are many germs here." And Ran tried her best to make her voice sound normal, and said with a smile, "I want to spend more time with you. I'm not a child, so I still need you to accompany me." Lin Xiaofen said angrily, "And Ran, you will be a mother in the future, you should think more about your children, and don't come to the hospital from tomorrow." "Mom." And Ran dragged out her voice, expressing her protest. "There is no discussion," Lin Xiaofen said resolutely. And Ran wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Su Yicheng raising his hand. Su Yicheng walked up to Lin Xiaofen, and said, "Mom, I went to Director Zhang's place when I just came here, and he said that he has already contacted the hospital and experts in the United States, and we can go there directly after making arrangements." Before Lin Xiaofen could answer, and Ran looked at Su Yicheng in surprise and asked, "Really?" Su Yicheng smiled at her and nodded affirmatively. "Great, I'll go there with Mom." And Ran just wanted to remove the tumor in her mother's head as soon as possible, so that her mother could be healthy, and she would accompany her child to be born and grow up with her child, so that she could still be happy when she was in trouble and confusion. "You can talk to her." After a while, Lin Xiaofen on the hospital bed said, "Then, do you want to go abroad?" And Su Yicheng nodded, and explained, "The experts and hospitals are the best in the United States, and they are also among the best in the world. There are risks in craniotomy, and he can only try to minimize such risks. Why don't you just do it in China? Why go so far away?" Lin Xiaofen said, holding tightly with both hands under the quilt that Su Yicheng and An Ran couldn't see. "Mom, let's go abroad. The United States is very experienced in this kind of surgery." And Ran stepped forward and put her hand on her quilt. Lin Xiaofen looked at her, tried very hard, but couldn't see An Ran's face clearly. Glancing at her face, she just said, "Let me think about it again." It's because she knows that this type of surgery is risky, and she doesn't want to go abroad. And Ran still wanted to persuade, but Su Yicheng shook his head, but in the end he didn't say anything more. "Well, Mom, think about it carefully, don't worry." Su Yicheng only said that. Lin Xiaofen nodded, looked up at them with a smile and said, Okay, you all go back, it's really late if you don't go back." Su Yicheng nodded, "Okay." Holding An Ran's hand out of the ward, walking to the elevator, An Ran turned her head and looked at him fixedly and asked, "Has Mom's condition worsened?" It was clearly broad daylight, but she said she wanted to turn on the light. One can imagine her mother's pain. "How bad is vision?" Su Yicheng didn't hide it from her, because he knew that there was no way to hide this matter, so he just nodded and said, "Director Zhang said that my mother's illness can't be delayed any longer, and if it is delayed, I really won't be able to see anything." Hearing this, An Ran's expression darkened, with worry on his face. Knowing the worry and fear in her heart, Su Yicheng held her in his arms with his hands, lowered his head and kissed her heart, and said, "Okay, don't worry, it will be fine. And Ran glanced at him, pulled her lips, nodded, and when the two passed by the garden downstairs, Suyuchen's cell phone suddenly rang at this moment. It was the call from Captain Wu of the Criminal Investigation Department of the police station. Suyuchen pressed the answer directly, "Hello, team. And Ran stopped and waited for him to finish the call, then turned her head to look at the flowers in the flower bed in the distance. Because of Lin Xiaofen's matter, she looked a little depressed at the moment. What? I don't know what Captain Wu said on the phone, but Suyuchen's face changed drastically, and his voice couldn't help but grow a little louder. And Ran was a little frightened by him, and turned to look at him worriedly. Suyuchen only smiled at her, his brows were still tightly frowned, and he just said to the phone, "I'm in the hospital." Then he didn't know what was said on the phone, so he hung up the phone directly. Seeing that he hung up the phone, and Ran asked worriedly, "What happened?" Not wanting and Ran to worry, Suyuchen shook his head, and only said, "It's okay, and Ran, why don't you go back to your mother's side? I still have something to do here, I'll pick you up after I finish it." And Ran looked at him worriedly, "Are you really alright?" Looking at him, it definitely didn't look like he was alright. Suyuchen rubbed her hair, "It's fine." And Ran didn't ask any more questions, knowing that he didn't want to worry about her, and believed that he was really fine when he said he was fine. Send her back to Lin Xiaofen's ward again, but while waiting for the elevator, Suyuchen didn't know what he saw, so he said to Ran nervously, "Ran, you go up first, I'll wait to pick you up." Run to the side of the aisle. Ran stared blankly at the direction he was running away, and frowned slightly. Although she believed that she could handle it well, she was still inexplicably worried. The elevator ding sounded, and the two closed iron doors slowly opened. When she saw the people standing inside, Ran was slightly taken aback, and the people inside were also a little surprised when they saw Ran outside the door. And unexpected. Ran didn't expect to meet Dong Xiaojia here, they hadn't seen each other since she came to the ward to make a fuss, so it was a bit unexpected to meet here today. Dong Xiaojia on the opposite side was also a little surprised, she was stunned for a while before stepping out of the elevator. Ran withdrew her gaze, past her to get into the elevator, but was stopped by her when she passed her. "Wait a minute," Dong Xiaojia called to stop her. "Can we talk? Off topic. So much more today, go on a blind date tonight, everyone wish me this leftover woman can be sold as soon as possible." Oh, mathematical intersection symbol. Mathematical intersection symbol, oh haha.